obviously the big one that came out today was Adnan Virk. Has been released, which a lot of people have been calling for since his first Raw announcing like thing, which was only like
Mm-hmm.
man just over a month ago, I think. A lot of people have been calling for that, and then I saw that Kevin Kelly replied or retweeted it and was like, "Oh, what would you know?" He was like, "Announcing pro wrestling's harder than you think." To which Renee Young then replied with, "Can I get an amen?" To which then Jim Ross retweeted and said, "Amen." And I was like, wow, there's so many people like in the industry that have pulled behind. And it kind of just made me think, like, man, this is what is so wrong with like internet wrestling, like chat and stuff. Like,
Well,
we're
because
so
it
quick to
becomes
go on a
such a
witch
witch
hunt.
hunt. No, it does.
Mm.
And so Adnan Virk, like, because I saw his first Raw appearance, and was it good? No. Like,
No, I think we slagged it. Sorry, I
I
just
think we
spat
did
my wine
slag it, and I
everywhere.
think everyone was slagging it. And I think there is something to be said for, constructive criticism. But even at the time, I remember saying they really threw him to the wolves because they hired him in not being a wrestling announcer, right? Because, yeah, like
Even
Fletch Monahan said,
so,
he shouldn't have been put in that position. Like, why do you hire someone in, like, new off the street? Obviously, he had broadcasting experience, but if you're not in wrestling, like, it's a hard thing to do. And like Gary Monroe says, he got the Mike Adamle treatment, which I haven't seen the Mike Adamle era, but like I've heard tell of it. I just know Mike Adamle from American Gladiators. But
oh sweet, was he on
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, he hosted it when I was a kid. So that's where I know him from. But it's one of those things where it's just like you brought him in and then you put him on a 3 hour program that he had to lead. Like, you don't put someone on a 3 hour program to
No,
learn how to do wrestling broadcasting. Like,
no,
put them on main event, put them on 205 Live, somewhere that,
exactly,
people are watching and it's a wrestling program, but not a
exactly,
lot of people are watching. And there's not nearly as much pressure to be leading the A show on the USA
exactly.
Network.
This is the thing as well. You look at every single other announcer, they have done that run. It's almost like how like we were speaking last week briefly about, wrestlers going to the performance center and then kind of like, coming up. There's only really been like we were saying like AJ Styles really was the only one from memory that didn't have to do a stint, even be it short stint in the performance center. Even if he
Right.
did, we don't know about it. So every other announcer has had that natural progression up to a main event, like, or sorry, a main seat on Raw or SmackDown or whatever, WrestleMania. You know what I mean? It's just
Mm-hmm.
crazy how that's kind of just not happened for him. Like, it's really weird, really, really weird. Um, so I do like my heart goes out to him because do you know what? I can't imagine like for his even his like mental health and confidence in his job and his abilities, like
Mm-hmm.
what like because wrestling fans are so toxic online. And you know what? We were slagging and stuff like that, but you and I, we talk about it in this kind of like safe space because just so you know, Queen Street Posse is always a safe space. Like we can
Oh
talk
yeah,
about whatever we
absolutely.
want here. But, we are not going online and being like, what the hell? Like this guy should be fired. Like, no, like
Yeah,
we
no,
all
it
kind of
was.
understood.
I always felt bad for him. I was like, he's not doing great, but you could tell week to week he was really trying. And I think that he was
Yeah.
getting better. I think he put out a
Yeah.
statement that said something that, like, the grind of the travel, which I don't really understand because it's a
Yeah.
pandemic and you're in the Thunderdome. So, like,
I know. Well,
what are
unless he
you
doesn't live,
expecting in wrestling?
unless he doesn't
Um,
live in the area.
yeah, he might not live in the area, but even like if traveling on a Monday is too much for you, then like I don't know what you thought you were getting into, but that just kind of shows like maybe he wasn't familiar with wrestling like as an industry for a long time. Like Kate Nick
Yeah.
said, it's a very wrestling move to put the new guy on the big thing to see if he flounders, and it shows you if they're going to last in wrestling because
Yeah.
it's all trial by fire. It's all like,
Totally.
let's make
Like
it as difficult as possible.
Saunders 9495 has just said a really good point as well. And it's like Tom Phillips did backstage interviews and so on, and look at him now, great commentator. But an interesting point is when Tom Phillips first got like led to the commentary desk, everyone was hating on him.
Oh
Tom to this
yeah.
day still had so much like heat against him and stuff like that.